Hi, everybody. Welcome back. You're listening to the Dennis Prager Show. Commenting on Prime Minister Netanyahu's speech before a joint session of the United States Congress. And he's a very eloquent man and stating eloquently the basic proposition. One side recognizes the other's right to exist, and one side does not recognize the other's right to exist. That is not only true for Hamas, it is also true for Fatah and its own charter denying the right of a Jewish state to exist. Everything that is possible is done on the Palestinian side to erase the most obvious fact of world archaeology and world history, the bonds of the Jewish people and the roots of the Jewish people in Israel. It's unbelievable. And yet that is the issue. It is denied by the intellectuals, much of the intellectuals of the world, in one of the greatest ongoing lies that we live with. Who is the culprit in the Middle East crisis? It's astonishing. Grant in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Dennis Prager, thank you for calling.
Oh, hi, Dennis.
Hi.
Hey. Okay, to start, I'm not Palestinian. I am a Jew. However, one of my close friends is a Palestinian. He's very supportive of attacks against Israel, very supportive of...
He's very supportive what?
Of attacks against Israel, you know, the rocket attack, from what you hear, the rocket attacks,
right. Okay.
Basic forms of terrorism. I really have a problem with you calling him, you sort of impugning his character because he supports a political position against Israel.
Wait a minute, let me understand something. You have a friend who supports terror against Israel?
Yeah.
And you think I'm impugning his character? What more could I say than you have said to impugn his character? You have just described one of the worst human beings in the world, and you're yelling at me about impugning his character? Somebody who supports sending rockets and blowing up pizza parlors? And is this called a joke? I mean, I'll keep you on. I just want to know if it's a practical joke.
No, not particularly.
Okay, then wait. Let me summarize it. Let me summarize it and tell you why it sounds like a joke. Dennis, you're impugning my friend's character. My friend supports terrorism against men, women, and children, and you're impugning his character. Did I hear you right?
Correct. But you also said, at least from my understanding, I thought you said you had a basic knowledge about the history of the conflict, and I think anyone who has a basic knowledge knows that no side is exactly clean here. I'm not saying it's always... I'm not saying...
Well, there's no such thing. There's no such thing as in the world as any side being perfectly clean. But the United States was not perfectly clean in World War II. But there was no moral comparison between America and its enemies.
Wait, that's a completely false analogy. When you're dealing with the Arab-Israeli conflict, his family was literally expelled from their homes in Libya. Like, his grandfather was kicked out of his house in the night by Israeli soldiers.
Even if that is true, his support of terror renders anything he says utterly morally irrelevant.
Wait,
you have a bad friend, my friend. I'm sorry?
How exactly would you characterize the actions of a army expelling nonviolent civilians from their homes?
First of all, that happened rarely. And if indeed it happened to your friend's grandparents, it is a tragedy. What that has to do with supporting terror is a connection that I cannot make. There were millions, listen to me, at the same exact time, there were millions of Muslims kicked out of India and sent to Pakistan, and millions of Hindus kicked out of Pakistan and sent into India. But nobody in Pakistan and nobody in India supports terror against the other country because of what happened to their grandparents. The only people on earth who believe you can blow up children because their grandparents were expelled from a city are Palestinians, and you find that morally acceptable. It's a shame on you, my friend. It's a shame. You are morally stained. You have an unclear conscience.
Is that the best you can do at hominem attacks?
No, it's an ad hominem attack only on your conscience. You may be the sweetest guy in the world, personally. But if you do not understand that having a friend who supports terror reflects on you, then what am I going to say to you? You're a great guy? What do you want me to say to you?
I would just hope that you would actually have studied the conflict enough.
Studied the conflict, my friend. I was a fellow at the Middle East Institute. I've been to more Arab countries than you can name. I studied Arabic and Hebrew. I studied the Quran and the Torah. Okay, you want it? Why would you like me to?
The recent scholarship on the conflict, just out of curiosity, can you name any of the new historians?
Yes, and the new historians, including some of the Israeli new historians, have now revoked what they wrote originally and now realize that the issue is exactly what I described.
No,
that from the beginning,
Benny Morris, I think you should.
Yes, Benny Morris. It's exactly who I'm referring to.
Yeah, I would think you should actually reconsider, look at what he has written precisely. I've read his recent scholarship. The only nuance that he's specifically added is the Islamic element of the Palestinian leadership.
Okay, let me, Grant. I'll ask you a question, Grant. Do you believe that Benny Morris believes that your friend's support for terror is in any way morally defensible?
No, Benny Morris is a...
Then why do you think...
Then why do you... always has been a committed Zionist.
Oh, so in other words, you have to be a committed Zionist in order to think that blowing up children is wrong.
I would think that you have to go back to the nuances of the conflict and understand that you
have to go back to the nuances of the conflict. Is that right?
The state of Israel justified its... Can I please finish the paragraph? The state of Israel justified its existence based on the historic suffering of the Jewish people and their historic connection to the homeland. However, that begs the question as to whether or not another people's national rights should be sacrificed because one people had felt...
There was no national group called Palestinian in 1948. It didn't exist in the history of the world. There have been 3 states in that area in all of human history. Jewish 1, Jewish 2, and Jewish 3.
Okay, but
you have any scholarship? Wait. Do you have any scholarship that restates what I just said?
I mean, I never claimed that there was a Palestinian state from time immemorial.
No, you claimed that there was a national group.
People don't have a right to self-determination.
I didn't say they didn't. I didn't say they didn't. I am for a Palestinian state. Your friend is not for a Jewish state. There's no comparison, my friend. Well, look, the reason that I kept him on is this is what... I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. I impugned... That's why I didn't understand the call. I impugned his friend's character, but his friend supports terror. How can you... It's... There is no... I can't think of an analogy. I can cry. I can cry that there are grants in the United States. I can cry. I'm not angry at you, Grant. I want to cry. This is what college can do. You're listening to the Dennis Prager Show.